Welcome. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the page, all of those wonderful things as we now go into the world of boxing, where I answer all your questions. People have been waiting for this for a very long time, and that's me discussing boxing on my YouTube page again. Hello, SK. Kim, Al, Stacks. Now, going into this boxing era that we're in now, there's a lot of different scenarios and things that are transpiring, and it's harder and harder and harder to find a guy that really stands out. And because of COVID, because boxing is more of a fan-oriented, business where it's like gate revenue is very important for the smaller fights and even the bigger fights. COVID could cancel and end the whole business of the fight game. That's where they make a stack of their money. The hotels, the bar. Guys want to get their girls dressed up, take them out with their friends and go spend money and gamble at the casino and go in and check out a fight. They don't want to be basically confined to just not being able to move at all. They don't believe in that. What they believe is good old American combat. Now, we're going to talk about boxing. That means there's no loyalty to any company. There's no loyalty to any one fighter. There's no loyalty to anything. We're just discussing boxing. So if someone feels like, hey, that guy's being talked about a lot more than this guy, it's because the people just want to talk about it. But I have no alliance with anything, no agenda. It's only to discuss the actual sport. Now, let's start with Canelo and Billy Joe Saunders. That's going to happen in May. People complained about Canelo's fight last week or so, where it was a tune-up fight or a stay-ready fight. I don't understand why people would have a problem with it, knowing that Canelo has fought the top competition in his division and has faced more tough competition than probably anybody that's actively in the boxing right now. So it's weird. It's very weird. Now, when we look at the total picture, when it's all said and done, Billy Joe Saunders have been trying to fight this master fight with Canelo and everything else, and he presents the most difficult challenge to Canelo that I've seen at this weight class, because he's not just some come forward fighter or somebody who just fights out of a high guard. He actually has ring IQ. And this is going to be a chess game for Canelo as he tries to figure this out. I think Canelo figures him out late, but you never know, because the size differential. Canelo is fighting at this size, but he's not naturally this weight. Billy Joe Saunders is naturally a bigger guy, and he was going to sweat down to this weight class, and he's going to box Canelo. And He's not going to be just a standing target. He's going to be able to move, get slick, throw some combinations, probably keep Canelo off balance for a while. And his size may make the difference because Billy Joe Saunders can actually jab. So it's a most difficult fight for Canelo than he's probably had in the last 4 or 5 years. Definitely his most difficult since probably I would say Laura, Erislan D. Laura, as far as just the thinking game. Canelo could beat him with body attack. Canelo has a very good body attack, and if he puts that on Billy Joe Saunders, and get him to react, it could change the fight in his favor. Canelo knows how to feint very well to get to a position to throw his punches where he gets leverage. And we'll see, sometimes Billy Joe falls asleep in the ring, and those are opportunities for Canelo. And then we get to see if Canelo's punching power can wear him down. Well, what's his name? Avani, the Indian guy. I mean, they put up so much money for that fight. I mean, he probably make more than that than he will for Saunders. Now, here's an important thing: there's no rematch clause. No rematch clause in the Billy Joe Saunders fight with Canelo. None. The fact that Canelo was chosen not to even bother including it in his contract shows how confident he is of beating Billy Joe Saunders. They think Saunders' lack of punching power that was his only shot of beating Canelo is by decision. But his lack of punching power, people don't understand. They really misunderstand what punching power is. Billy Joe Saunders can punch. It's just that he's been fighting guys who are naturally big as well. And he's not a heavy hitter, but for somebody like Canelo, it could be enough to get his attention or keep him at bay. So now, why would he not do the uh, the fight clause? Because even if Saunders somehow beat Canelo, let's say he beats Canelo, it's not as if he's going to take his titles and disappear without giving Canelo a rematch. He's not going to have to worry about that because Canelo will be the biggest fight on his table, a rematch. And plus, this is more lucrative for him. Now he can negotiate for more money. Now, Lopez did not give, there was no rematch clause in the Teofimo Lopez fight. So when Teo won, he chose not to give Lomachenko a rematch. Saunders is not the type that would run away like Teo did. Teo's looking for bigger money down the road, so he just wants to have the belt. He just needed that win. That he needed that Lomo on his resume. I mean, I would have tried to do it, but Lomachenko went for surgery. So, in the defense of Teofimo Lopez, he would have to sit around and wait for Lomachenko to come out of surgery. So, no, not at all. I feel the best decision was made. Best foot was put forward. Well, I don't think Canelo's gonna campaign at 175 very long. 168 is probably the highest he needs to really campaign at. What is a fight you could bet on and make some money, you say? I would say the Linares fight against Devin Haney. That is not an easy fight for Devin Haney. Congratulations to Ryan Garcia for getting himself out of that fight. Linares would have probably knocked him out. Uh, Ryan Garcia has a lot of heart. Like he wants to compete. He believes he's better than what he actually is. And that knockdown would have probably remind him, hey, maybe I'm not as good as I think I am. He makes a lot of mistakes. His chin is way sky high in the air, and he depends on his speed and his punches as his defense because he's punching at guys who are not swinging back or who's timing him. When he starts fighting guys who are more skilled, like Rolly would hurt him. I think Rolly would really hurt him. If Rolly was to get him in the ring, Rolly would hurt him. I think everybody knows that. Devin Haney gets in there. Devin Haney is smart enough, and he's better defensively than much better defensively than Ryan Garcia. And one touch, and that could be it. Well, he gets hyped because he got the Jonas Brothers. It's all social media. So through social media, he's huge, but he's really not in the boxing world. He really hasn't, when him beating Domo, like people didn't even believe that was a real fight. But it was. It was a real fight, and it was a real victory over a guy that no one had him beat. And I mean, no one had him winning that fight. And I was definitely one of the people who didn't think he could beat Domo, but I was impressed that he wanted the fight. He wanted this fight. Golden Boy didn't want that fight. Ryan Garcia wanted that fight, and he made it happen. So for me, he got a lot of my respect there. No, Arislandi Laura was his last toughest fight that I feel he was in danger of losing. The Triple G fight, he was basically just saving energy because of what he did, just tired himself out unnecessarily in the first fight, which made it closer. The second fight to me was a whitewash. He clearly won that fight. I mean, to me, it was obvious Canelo's the better fighter than Triple G. He exposed Triple G and he hurt him bad. Well, it was weird because everyone who fought him, I mean, not fought, but I talked to Mac the Knife, who fought Golovkin, Triple G. And he told me, he said, that's not the same guy that broke my ribs. He said, that's not him. I don't know what happened to that guy. And I told you, I said, I know what happened to him. Random blood and urine test. That's what happened to the guy. Before they were doing that, he was breaking people up with a jab, destroying fighters' careers. Now, uh-uh. Now we finna get a little interesting, a little bit, just a little bit. Devin Haney did not look good against Gamboa. Gamboa showed him that he's still a little he's still a little green in a lot of areas, but because of social media, people think Devin Haney, and because of the people he's dating on Instagram, believes Devin Haney is ready for everybody in the game. This is a mistake. Linares presents a fight that's difficult for him because he's fast, he's got speed, he comes forward. Now, the fight with Ryan Garcia did not get made because of Ryan Garcia. Nope. If guy didn't get made because of COVID. Um, Linares wouldn't be approved to come to America due to the COVID situation, so they had to cancel the fight. So Ryan Garcia didn't run from Jorge Linares. Hmm. Well, Devin Haney brain is thinking. I see what you're saying, but Devin Haney brain is thinking Lomachenko. But he keeps screaming Bob Arum won't give him Lomachenko. I've talked to Bob Arum. Bob Arum is trying to make Lomachenko versus Tank Davis. That would be pay-per-view. That could be at 130 pounds. That will be a fight that people don't feel like they're getting ripped off from buying it on pay-per-view. Who the hell wants to see Andy Ruiz versus Alvarez on pay-per-view? Alvarez is supposed to be retired one. He's supposed to be out the boxing game. And you want people to pay on pay-per-view for that? Who the hell is on the undercard? You better have a Don King type of undercard for that. Because I don't know who paying for that. Do I think Tank beats Lomo? Floyd Mayweather believes it 100%. He's told me a million times. This is before Lomachenko lost. Everybody in the Mayweather camp feels that Tank would knock out Lomachenko. Period. Tank will get him and would have been the first to beat him. They're so mad Teofimo Lopez beat him because they wanted to be the ones to really get him first. So Floyd is really eager to make that fight. And Bob has been in contact with him because he's dealing hands-on with Floyd as far as representation of making the fight happen. And he think Tank will be the first person to stop Lomachenko. He thinks Tank hits way too hard, which he does. And if Tank hit Lomo, when Linares dropped Lomachenko that fight, that's when Floyd said, I told you, Tank would have hit him. He don't get up. Floyd is very animated when he sees a fight like that, especially Tank. And he was like, I told you, he can't handle Tank. Tank hit that mother. Tank gonna hit that mother with some. He ain't getting up. Mm-mm. He ain't getting up. Look, I'm gonna tell you, Tank gonna get him. Tank gonna get him. Watch. See how he did that? See how Linares did that? He just timed him. He walked right into it. Tank could do that. He ain't gonna get up. Tank gonna hit him so hard, he ain't getting up. And if he do, it's over. It's over. He ain't gonna survive. I say 6 rounds, 6, 7 rounds, 6, 7 rounds. Tank gonna get him early. About 6, 7 rounds. He's gonna get caught. And he's done. He's done. Tank can get him out of there. Now, the problem is when Floyd was telling us all of this, this is before Linares. Then this was even escalated after Linares. He said Tank can get him. Tank can be the one to take him out. Floyd Mayweather is retired from boxing. He's not going to fight professionally again. There will all be exhibitions. He's not coming back to do a fight with anybody else. There's no need for it. Floyd got money in investments, so he should be okay. Like not, but his expenses, I don't know, are great. So we'll have to just wait and see what happens. But I mean, even in exhibitions, if that's just all what Floyd want to do, fine. But I don't want to see Floyd fight anymore. I've seen it. His career, his time has come and gone. He did his thing. It's just that most people didn't know about Floyd until he fought Oscar De La Hoya. So they came in during like the end part of his career. So they don't remember he was the best fighter at 130 and 135. They don't remember that Floyd. They keep pushing back the fight date for Floyd Mayweather and Logan Paul. And the reason why they keep pushing it back is because they truly just don't know where should they put it. Where should they put it? They trying to maximize their dollar plus Fox. Fox is putting up money for the pay-per-view. They're one of the sponsors. So they're getting ready to put out their boxing schedule. And Fox don't want the Mayweather fight to ruin their boxing schedule that they have set up. So they're going to push it back. And plus the interest of the people, so they want to get as much interest as they can as possible when they do this. I don't think Mayweather wants to have a fight in Texas. Period. So it might be in Florida. Florida's basically open too. Well, the situation's changed because you're trying to get the maximum dollar that you can get out of a fight. That's why the Gervonta Tank Davis and Lomachenko fight was kind of being pushed back. They're still talking about doing it as Lomachenko's first fight back, no warm up or anything after surgery, because they don't know how long Loma's got to fight, before he retires. So they want to keep him active and going, and he doesn't want to tune up. He wants to go right in with the best. And they just want to find a state that's open like Texas, and you could put Tank in there with Lomachenko. That's neutral ground. Now, let's talk Charlo. Now the Charlos fighting David Benavidez. David Benavidez forever. But the Charlos are a bunch of cowards, not because I don't like them. They just happen to be a bunch of cowards. That's just what it is. So it has nothing to do with me, has everything with them being cowards. Now, David Benavidez has got to fight Ronald Ellis. Why is he fighting Ronald Ellis in a title eliminator? That makes no sense. But that's Al Heyman. You have talent that should be fighting each other, not fighting each other. You got Benavidez that should be fighting Caleb Plant or Charlo by now. They're dragging it on and got both guys, everybody's fighting tune-ups. So, okay, it's been a COVID. I'll accept that. Then after this, we move forward. Now, I like Anthony Durrell, but his time is come and gone, and he should be retired out of the sport. Period. PM2-6. Are you upset that Floyd Mayweather is a boxer? Shalom to my Israelite brothers out there. Well, Charlos, they want to milk and get as much money as they can without fighting anybody. They just want to jump on social media and be stars. They never cared about being world champions. They wanted to be stars. And because we knew of them, we knew their behavior. We were the first guys who used to film them, record them, put footage of them together, and put them out to the world. And all they cared about was being famous. That was it. That's all they cared about. Did they see me on TV? Did they see me when I scored the basket? Did they see me when I did that? It's all they cared about. Being famous. Jermell Charlo is cleaning out 154. Well, there's a 154 champion over there he hasn't fought. And he still hasn't fought Jared Hurd. He still hasn't fought Arislan D. Laura. How's he cleaning out 154? Now, back to Jamal Charlo. Jamal Charlo should be fighting Caleb Plant or David Benavidez. He's been at middleweight for 4 to 5 years and has not had one single fight that stood out, except for Dervinchenko. That was the only fight where Dervinchenko started off slow, then got back in the fight once Charlo gassed out. Absolutely. If you want to support the page, the Cash App is Karceno, Karceno. Oh, David Benavidez is going to keep calling out Charlo. He said that I'm calling him out for the March 13th on Showtime and moving my training camp to Colorado. That's what he's doing now. Caleb Plant was supposed to fight him in this tournament that never happened. When he beat Anthony Durrell, that was supposed to be the fight. Caleb Plant was supposed to be next. Canelo chose to leave the division or not fighting him, so the Canelo fights out. So Jamal Charlo talking about he's coming to 168, but if you're gonna go to 168, you're gonna have to see David Benavidez. And he said a lot of his promoters and was disappointed when he didn't make weight for his career. He said, I think this is the route I'm going to take. Mentally and physically, I feel like he's at his best. And he's at his best out there when he's at his peak. The big fights are coming sooner or later. So when he's in his best shape and they can get the best out of himself. So he needs to train up there and change his altitude so he can keep his weight down. So he could not, exert himself. So he wants to definitely go to Colorado and work in the mountains so he can keep his weight down. But David Benavidez is not chasing Canelo anymore. He knows that fight is probably out of his wheelhouse. So there's no reason that Billy Joe Saunders, Jamal Charlo, Caleb Plant, all those people couldn't make a fight. But Billy Joe Saunders is fighting Canelo. I think that's a tougher fight for Canelo. So Charlo, Plant, and he's like, I'm 100% positive I can beat those guys. And he's right. But they don't want to give him the opportunity. They know David Benavidez presents a problem for them. So they try to avoid it as much as possible, especially Charlo. But he wanted to get publicity off of putting them in a situation to fight like that. But Benavidez spoke on Caleb Plant. He says he feels like he's going to sit out as long as he can until he can get the Canelo fight because for him, it's just business. And business-wise, that fight makes more sense for Caleb Plant. And he said, I feel like I'm more of a threat to him. So if he loses to me, he loses more than if he fought Canelo. But even if he gets the Canelo fight and he beats him or lose, I still want to fight Caleb Plant either way. I feel like there's a lot of unsettled business that me and him need to settle. And that's what a real fighter feels like. David Benavidez is a real fighter, and they better take him seriously. Now, as he spoke about Charlo, this ain't coming from me. It's coming from Benavidez. He says, I'm going to keep calling him out. I'm going to keep antagonizing him. I'm going to keep pushing his buttons until he has to see me in the ring. Hopefully that fight happens. I feel like for me, just talking about which way my career wants to go, I feel that it has to be one of the fights I have to get. That'll be his last fight at 168. I'll send him back down to 160. So he called Edgar Belanga. Remember him, Belanga? He said, man, if that fight would ever happen, it would be an amazing fight. And a Mexican versus a Puerto Rican getting together, it'll be a huge fight. There are these type of fights I want. But everybody gets mad at the end of the day. But I'm not anyone's friend here. I'm not trying to be your friend. I'm not trying to be in a relationship with these people. I'm trying to knock them out. So if they get mad, so be it. I'm trying to knock you out anyway. That's a fighter, B. That's a fighter. That's a fighter, B. Now, Deontay Wilder. What Wilder wants to do is come back in a tune-up fight, and then he wants to get in the ring with the winner of Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, and he's trying to hope he can go to court so he can get forced into a title shot with them to break up this rematch thing that they have, this two-fight deal that they have set up between AJ and Tyson Fury, which is going to happen. There's too much money involved in it, and it's definitely going to be the biggest thing of the year. And for the boxing sports, they need that fight. And for Wilder, it's the best thing for you. Go start your new team. You got a whole new team now. Go ahead, rebuild your confidence back, get one under the belt so you can move towards another fight with the winner. Now, how do I see the fight breaking down? I see Tyson Fury beating Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua does not have a good jab. He jabs, but it's not a very consistent, stiff, hard jab. He has a very good jab against guys who don't jab. He kind of just leaves his jab out there. And all of his knockdowns, you've seen it happen when he throws his jab. Normally, when he's jabbing, he gets countered with an overhand right because he just throws it out there. And this is how Klitschko caught him. Caught him with the steel hammer, Dr. Steel Hammer. Boom! And if he didn't have that junk in his system, the natural juices and berries in the AJ system, then he would have been asleep. If Charlo beats the guys he's supposed to beat or that they put in front of him that are real fights, then yeah, he'll get my credit. He'll get my full respect as a fighter if he's able to pull that off, honestly. Yeah, they did a lot of. That's why you got to check my timelines. You got to like the page. You got to subscribe and hit that notification bell. And if you think you subscribe, check to make sure you subscribe so that you'll get your notification whenever we go live. I wouldn't say Wilder's a bum. Wilder does not possess the usual boxing, the standard boxing abilities. But what he has, a lot of people don't have in this industry. He has an eraser. He can touch you with that right hand. His back is full power. He's like me. Let me show you what I mean. I don't look from the front, I don't look like I'm very powerful at all, right? But if you look at my back, you look at my upper back, you see that mass, you see this is where my power comes from. Comes from here. My shoulders and back. Wilder back is like, it's like he's wearing a backpack. So when somebody gets in the ring with me or want to get in a fight with me and I hit them, one, I'm very quick. And if I touch somebody, they're going to sleep. I already know that. I can barely touch somebody and hurt them, and I'll be like, "How did I do that? I didn't even feel like I put anything on it." And they'll be, "Call a cab." So, because my shoulders here are so massive, right here, the back, strong back. That's where Wilder power come from. His legs look like chicken legs. He got toothpicks for legs, like two little baseball bats for legs. He don't even turn his hips and generate the power from his hip. Can you imagine if Wilder used his hips, turned on the shot, threw a professional punch? With his power, he might kill somebody. So naturally, nobody wants to see that happen. If he stops him, it'll be late. But I think he busts his AJ up, just jabs and right hands and popping him. I don't think he stops Anthony Joshua. I think we're gonna get a controversial decision and may get another controversial draw. I think all the social media stuff hurt Deontay Wilder more than anything. All these guys got millions of subscribers following him. They don't know anything about the sport of boxing, and they thought like, oh, they doing something good. They were actually hurting people because they're making all these videos. Watch the tape. They're watching the first fight, talking as if it happened in the second fight. They don't want to talk about the second fight because the second fight was a whitewash. They don't even want to mention that. So they're talking about the gloves in the first fight, which was addressed. They don't even show you that the situation was addressed. It's more dangerous to the fighter than anything. It's not a strategy to do that. It does not help you. And they didn't do Wilder any justice, who believed he was poisoned. Wilder, I mean, Tyson Fury had an egg weight in his hand, all kind of goofiness that he was saying, buying into it, what all they were saying on social media. He's buying it to try to make himself look important, or hey, this is good. This can save me. Embarrassing. Nobody wanted a piece of it, you know? Nobody wanted anything to do with it. Because see, these people on social media, they don't buy your fights. They don't. It's only maybe a few of them that do. But other than that, they don't buy your fights. That guy who did that video and showing the clips and all that, he don't buy Wilder fights. He's somebody that watches it on YouTube after it's done and see the highlights. He doesn't watch boxing. He knows nothing about it. And you gave all the publicity and juice to this guy who's making falsified, total cap videos. Anybody who had any sense in boxing just didn't pay any attention to it because it was ridiculous. But it was good for social media lore. They don't watch boxing anyway. So for them, they believe they're right because this guy made a video. That makes no sense. Now, narratives. Let's take a look at the narratives, right? I mean, it's only makes sense that way. Let's talk about the narratives. If we look at it the way it is, Wilder's confidence could be gone. That one loss he took, that's going to give confidence. That's going to echo. It's like Justice League. The bell's been rung. Ding, ding. They're coming. That's right, El Breezy. That's the new wave of boxing now. They don't want to fight the best fighters anymore. Wilder should fight next. Oh, sorry about that. That's on my phone. Who do I think Wilder should fight next? Hmm, that's a very interesting question. I thought he would fight Andy Ruiz as his first fight back. It's a big name. He's former heavyweight champion. He beat Anthony Joshua, but now he's fighting Alvarez, Andy Ruiz. So he's trying to get him another, win under the belt. So Wilder needs a stay busy fight, and then I would hand him fight Andy Ruiz before then go fight the winner of Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. Well, what happened in here is that the WBA wants to make this fight. Wilder wants to sue so the WBA can make the title fight. Wilder's going to have to fight an elimination fight with somebody for the belt. And Tyson Fury, since he's declining the fight or whatever, the comeback for the fight, Wilder should be the number one contender and all kind. It's so much technicality that it makes no sense, and the average boxing fan don't care for it. What's up, Jamil? So when you gonna be ready to play? I never felt like that. It's interesting you said that. I never felt like that though. What's the next topic? Errol is not gonna fight Terrence Crawford. I told you that. There's no way Al Heyman's gonna make that fight happen because he hasn't really made any money off Errol yet. He's trying to build Errol Spence up where he can make some money off Errol Spence. And he can't do that by putting him in a fight with Terrence Crawford, because if he put him in the ring with Terrence Crawford, the whole world knows Terrence Crawford will knock out Errol Spence. Right now, after watching Errol Spence fight Danny Garcia, matter of fact, that fight was just on television just an hour ago. And there, he wasn't ready then. He's not ready now. And there's nothing that they're going to be able to do about it. Well, Tevin Farmer, I mean, he's still out there. He's still waiting, but we never got our Javante Tank Davis versus Tevin Farmer. We didn't get that. Oh, David Atkins, you are totally blind if you think Errol Spence can stop Bud Crawford. 80-20. If Errol Spence said 80-20, he's pricing himself out of the fight. It don't even make sense. This will be a great fight. I just think Estrada probably been in too many wars because that division is hot. You got, 'Sword. Okay. So you got sore running inside. You got let me see. You got sore running inside. You got Estrada. You got Chocolatito. You got that. Those three right there could just fight each other all day. I think Chocolatito edges out a decision over Estrada. I think Estrada has been to through the wire. They just had wars. So I think right now Chocolatito has still got better boxing ability, but the harder puncher is definitely Estrada. But it's going to go down to probably a 10th round. It's going to probably be a knockdown in the fight. But I got Chocolatito winning by split decision. Is my hate for them personally? No, because that was so long ago. I was able to have a conversation with them and tell them what it is. I mean, I don't like them as people based on because I know what they are, but as a fighters, I'm assessing them as fighters. They work hard, they train hard, but they're not good boxers at all. They're basic. And them being basic fighters, and you can see it in the way they fight. They fight like they got a ball fist. Like they fist is tight. And if you fight like that, you're gonna get hurt. Arislandi Laura used to spar with both of them and take them to school. Take them to school. That's why, because Ronnie Shields used to train all three. And that's when Jermel decided he wanted to do his own thing. He couldn't be trained with him no more. So Jermel wanted to do his own thing. And that's when he went and got his own gym, wanted to leave. He wanted his brother to leave too, but his brother was like, look, I'm in line for a title shot. I better stay where I'm at. And he's still with Ronnie. So he's like, look, I'm still with Ronnie. No, they're decent fighters, meaning that their athleticism and power and size has been getting them by fighting mediocre talent. And they fought Tony Robinson. I mean, from the D, when they fought Tony, I knew right then and there Charlo was gonna lose. Then he got outboxed and lost. In the second fight, it was even worse, and they had Robinson losing because he's not signed to PBC. Had he signed a contract to, be a part of PBC, then the decision would have went another way had it went to the cards. But by him getting caught and knocked out, and then the controversy over the water bottle situation, that I interviewed the commissioner, and you can tell he had a check. Somebody slid him a check and told him what to say in my whole interview. Ugas is one of the first real fights Spence has had at this welterweight division. Obviously, Burgess, Meredith, whatever you're calling yourself, you want to be Mick. Well, you probably as old as Mick and it's not caught up to what was going on. There was a water bottle controversy that happened during that fight with the Charlos, in which he came out like Superman and ended up getting a knockout. Then, if you look at the scorecards, there was no way Robinson was going to win, even though he had dominated the entire fight. Big Baby has been on big stuff for a long time. Before that fight even happened, people already knew about Big Baby being on stuff. So that was not even a thing. Pac-Man's gonna call it quits when people stop paying a check for him to fight. But he keeps getting rid of these hype jobs of PBC. Keith Thurman, hype job. Keith Thurman, hype job, beat. Who else they had in the situation? He beat Keith Thurman, the hype job. Who was the other guy? Adrian Broner. AB came in there. Yo, I beat Manny Pacquiao. Got beat up. Now, all these guys got beat up, right? Now, my thing is they're still being headlined after getting beat up. Completely headlined. Yeah. Well, y'all got any more boxing questions to hit me with? Tank at 140. They don't want to rush Tank to 140. That's a dangerous fight for him because the higher he goes up in weight, the more dangerous the punches are, and they could take his punch. So that's going to be more dangerous for him on both ends. Young Hollywood, you got that in reverse. When Bud beat Kell Brook, they said Brook was shot. When Spence beat Kell Brook, they said it was the greatest victory of his career at that time and he dominated and what Brazilians that he showed. They never mentioned the fact that this guy fought coming off of his surgery. No tune-up fight. Came right into this fight at 147. He just fought at middleweight. Had to cut all this weight to come down to 147 to fight with a broken orbital bone. which led to him cracking the other side of his orbital bone in that fight with Errol because he wasn't physically back, but for the money, he took it. Canelo versus Triple G 3. I don't want to see it. But I believe he has. Oh, thanks, Mr. Sledge. I haven't even been to sleep yet. So all of that's coming for me in one big swoop. When is the next good card? It's hard to say. You'll find like the Oscar Valdez fight was great. Um, I mean, shoot. I do some of my best work when I'm tired. Bud beats Spence. I can see that. Is Teofimo leaving Top Rank? I don't think his contract would allow him to do that. I think he's doing this fight because it was a purse bid. And if they want to overbid for this fight, then by all means, go ahead and do it. But it definitely leaves a bad taste in the mouth if you're the promoter. I'm going to interview Bob Arum this week. So that'll put us in a good space on what's going on with Top Rank. I'm going to try to interview Eddie Hearn and see what he wants to talk about as far as boxing. That way you can get a good understanding of what Eddie wants to do. But Eddie's harder to get in contact with because he's international and, it's just how he moves. Yeah, Chocolatito versus Estrada this weekend is going to be great. The greatest boxer of all times. My favorite fighter of all times. It's probably not the greatest boxer of all times, but my favorite fighter was Thomas the Hitman Hearns, then Felix Trinidad, then Mike Tyson, then it was Roy Jones, then Floyd Mayweather. And these were my favorite fighters. Yeah, I grew up in the Larry Holmes era, so I really didn't see Ali. Ali wasn't my time. You know, Holmes was the king. Well, Floyd believed he could have hurt and could have stopped Thomas Hearns. Floyd believed he would have got Hearns. He knew Thomas's flaws. He studied the fight, what Sugar Ray did to him, and he felt he could have did that to Thomas Hearns. He wouldn't have moved around so much against Thomas Hearns. He said, you got to stand like right in front of him and make a miss. Don't give him the distance. Close it off. Smother him. Stand on the inside. And he's like, I'd have caught him with the left hook. Thomas Hearns, he keeps his chin up in the air and he don't protect himself. You could throw a left hook and catch it. You just got to be close enough. But I don't know, man. Dude, Hearns has so much speed and athleticism and power on that right hand and snap. And he just had a balls out attitude that was so Detroit that I mean, it's so Detroit, the whole attitude. Ray Leonard versus Floyd in a fight. Um, I would say that is a very interesting one. Don't forget to hit the like button, man. That's free. Don't forget to hit the Patreon today. We're gonna do a live stream for the Patreon over there, so you guys can be caught up with what's been happening and everything. So, did I ever do a live stream with Boxing Ego? I don't believe I did, but I remember we used to be really cool until I saw him starting to, take from what we were doing. Now I don't mind somebody doing their own thing and going with it, but I think he really started to like what people would look at as stealing. And I'm like, dude, you got to slow down. Well, because most of these fighters, they don't understand the process of what's going on. They forget the first element in the rule of the game. If you want to be respected in this game, is and you can't omit the boxing. You can have a personal grudge against somebody. They didn't want to give you an interview or whatever. That's fine. That's how you personally feel. But when you inform people, that's got to go out the window. You got to tell them, assess them from fighting, period. Like from the fight, let me assess the fight and let me tell people what should happen here or there. You got to, or you failing people. No, I didn't watch Fred's interview. Like Fred, me and Fred, like we don't really have a connection at all. I don't really know what he's doing half the time. Some of the stuff he do is like we agree on certain things. Like, okay, I'll be like, yeah, I agree with that. And then he just go like way left. And I just don't know what he's really doing. But hey, he's doing his thing. I'm doing my thing. I don't have to badmouth him. He don't have to badmouth me. There's plenty of people doing like their thing on here. More power to all of them. Now, oh yeah, K9 Boxing. Make sure y'all follow him if y'all like boxing. K9 Boxing. Yep, that's a two-time world champion you're talking to. Floyd versus Bud Crawford, who wins? That I'm gonna go with Floyd. Floyd in his prime. Floyd right now, I wouldn't know. Like if he came back to fight Bud, that would not be good. Floyd knows that. Floyd's not gonna take a fight he don't think he can win because he knows his ability. He wouldn't be able to do what he could do. Me and him talked about him fighting Sugar Ray Leonard. He felt not at this point that he's at now because physically he's not the same anymore. But he said if he was in his 30s, like 32, around that age, 32, 33, he felt he could have got Ray. Well, the thing about Ray and Floyd is what people don't understand. That's a much difficult fight. That's probably more difficult than Thomas Hearns because Ray has size and speed. That's going to negate a lot of stuff that Floyd wants to do. Floyd has to be extremely careful with Ray's size and speed. Mostly people who are very fast are normally small. Oh man, Christian, yeah, you should have been there for that Coming to America review. But when we might do a stream yard on it later on today, so you might be able to get in there. Leonard wasn't mentally weak. See, Ray Leonard is a fighter. See, people just think he a punk and he's soft and he can't hit till they get in the ring with Ray and realize Ray can hit. See, Ray didn't fight at 130 and 135. Ray came in at welterweight. So Ray was big. He was a 160 guy going down to 147 pounds. Floyd was a little guy going up in weight. So that'll be a difficult fight for Floyd, believe me. Difficult. Yes, on the Patreon, we are going to be talking about the Wesley Snipes situation today. That's almost done. But it's funny you brought that up, DF. We're doing the Blade situation right now and how that led to Wesley Snipes. That's going to be on the Patreon today. And don't forget, everybody this week you're going to see and learn the truth behind the real Tommy and Ghost from Power. Gloves was made when they were created to protect the fighter's hands, not to increase power. That's the only purpose of boxing gloves. So when someone tells you they need gloves for power, or I need my gloves because my gloves gives you power, then definitely power comes from within the fighter. Either you got it or you don't. Oh, Margarito should have been arrested, period. They brought him back to be executed. And that was basically what happened. They let Manny Pacquiao go in there with stacked gloves and just said, knock him out. Who's overrated to me? Where should I begin? Let's turn to PBC. Both Charlo brothers. Well, it's hard to say Caleb Plant's overrated. I wouldn't say him. Adrian Broner, Keith Thurman, Sean Porter. Uh, basically, almost 90% of the fighters that's on PBC. Ryan Garcia is grossly overrated. And the thing about Ryan Garcia is he has some potentials to be great, but he fights too amateurish. If he fights like that against any skilled veteran, he could be sleep in no time. Well, when you've been knocked down and basically damaged by Margarito, I mean not Margarito, but Madonna, the way Adrian Broner was, and you have your bell rung, so all that bravery he showed in that fight has built in a psychological reluctance to engage now. He's become gun shy. Can't let it go. So let it go. They're more concerned about the incoming then they are letting it go. And that's when it's a sign that the fighter needs to, hang it up. So don't forget, all of those things are coming up. Hope you guys have hit the like button for this video, because the like button is free. Like the page, everything. I'm out.